Good morning, it's 5:30 a.m. and we're driving on a dirt road to get to the trailhead.
Alright guys, so when you visit a national park, you have to bring your sense of adventure. You also have to bring flexibility. So there's construction this time of year at a lot of national parks. So what has happened is we're going to be hiking the Alpine Lake Loops and the Bristlecone Trailhead today. And they've got the top of Wheeler Peak closed. So for all the alpine trails, which there's a lot of them, and these are definitely the most popular trails in the park, you have to park at the Summit Trailhead, which only holds 22 cars. So we talked to the ranger yesterday. He said this has been filling by 7 a.m. So that meant that we had to get up, get in our car around 5:30 this morning to leave our Hidden Canyon retreat and drive over here. So now we've secured our parking spot. It's about 41 degrees outside. So we're gonna eat our breakfast in the car now that we've got our spot. And then we're gonna get on the hiking trail. But my husband predicted, he said, I bet we're gonna get up early. We're gonna get up here. There's gonna be a ton of spots left. And we're like the fourth car in the parking lot. So there's still plenty of spots left. So I don't know, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So we'll get on the trail soon. All right, so this is the Wheeler Peak Summit Trail. We're not doing Wheeler Peak, but what we will be doing is the Alpine Lakes Loop, the Bristlecone Trail, and then possibly this Glacier Trail, depending on how we feel. So it is 41 degrees out, and we've got lots of layers on. We've got hydration pack. So I think we're pretty well prepared. We've got snacks and things, but this is gonna be a long one and a challenging one with this kind of elevation, but we're really excited to hike this. So the trails are marked by these little red tags on the trees there. This Headlightz Beanie, it's been really helpful. So when we left our lodging this morning at 5:30, everything was completely dark. No street lights, that kind of thing. So I was able to quickly turn this on and help us get to the car, get loaded up and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's comfy too. The trail is really beautiful with all these yellow trees. And it is rocky. You're gonna want boots for this. The thing to keep in mind is we're at about 10,000 feet of elevation right now. So the air is thinner. It's a little bit harder to breathe. You wanna go slow at first to make sure you don't get kind of elevation sickness. And this trail is gonna climb 500 feet. So nothing too strenuous, but it is gonna be on the longer side. So my husband kind of pointed out that a lot of these trees must have been bent in the wind here. That was really cool. We just had some deer cross our path. My husband pointed out when we were quiet, just watching them, you could actually hear their hoof prints on the ground. It's so quiet here. And then I saw another bird, maybe a pheasant or something. I'll have to look up what that is and let you guys know. All right, so we just finished the Summit Connector Trail, and now we're on the Alpine Lakes Trail. We just saw a pack of turkeys, which is really cool. How beautiful is this? Water in here is really clear. My husband said to me, did you touch the water? And I'm kind of curious here. So. Ooh, that is icy. And as to be expected because it is 41 degrees out. This little stream here looks like it feeds into this lake. This is one of the other lakes here. We haven't seen another single person on this trail, and my husband was saying that it's so quiet you could hear Chipmunk's footsteps, which is really, really cool. So it's starting to warm up a little bit along the trail here, so I've switched. I've taken off that LED beanie knit hat, and now I've got on my favorite kind of baseball cap. So this is Trailheads. It's made for running, but what I love about it is it's this breathable mesh, so it really keeps your head ventilated and helps you feel a little bit cooler while you're hiking, but then offers that nice sun protection. So I'll have a link for this one in my description too. So just one thing I want to point out, the trails are really nicely marked here, and then you've got those little placards on the tree to show you where to go. So you won't even need all trails here. We hike along this section, we can hear a lot of chipmunks chattering, and then as you can look ahead here, this is going to get quite steep, but we're heading towards the Bristlecone Pine Grove. So you've got really rocky side of the mountain here with pine trees. Then if you look across, you can see some beautiful fall color. Pretty great views here. So you just want to take your time on this section. Go slow, keep drinking your water. It's definitely rocky and steep. On trails like this, having a hydration pack with you is a must. I've made it to the Bristlecone Pine Loop trail here. So this is just a little interpretive trail here. We're here. And then, so this is the most accessible Bristlecone Pine Grove in Great Basin National Park, home to some of the oldest living trees on Earth. So Bristlecone pines live in the subalpine forest at the timberline between 9,000 and 11,500 feet. And then at the highest elevations, you're just going to see bristlecone and limber pine are the most common trees. During the growing season, they receive little moisture. They grow slowly, adding on average an inch to their girth every 100 years. Their wood is very hard and dense and resistant to insects, fungi, and rot, and they grow slowly. They can also die slowly. Parts of a tree can remain alive with only 1 or 2 living roots connected with a thin strip of bark and a few living branches. And the pine needles can live up to 40 years, much longer than the 2 or 3 years of most other pines. So you can find Great Basin bristlecones in California in the White, Inyo, and Panamint Mountains, and also on high mountains in Nevada and parts of Utah. So it says that this 3,000-year-old remnant has been dead for 250 years, and it has 2 buttresses. And the one on the left died about 1100 CE, while the other continued growing for 6 more centuries. And the great reluctance to die is the common among bristlecone pines. They cling to life for centuries before reaching old age. So this tree was born in 1300 BCE, died in 1700 CE. So that's the increment borer, what they do to tell how old a tree is. This one's beautiful, isn't it? So a core was removed at this tray at 4 feet above the ground, and the innermost growth ring has been dated at 1126 BCE, Therefore, the tree was about 4 feet tall in that year. It may have taken as long as 200 years to reach that height, and therefore the tree is between 3,200 and 3,300 years old. That's just absolutely amazing. The beautiful colors and the twisted bark. So you can kind of tell they're needles because they say it almost looks like a bottle brush. What a beautiful tree. So this section appears to not be living anymore, but yet this section grows on. So this tree had an easier life than some of the neighbors. It grew fast due to favorable site conditions, but it made the tree more susceptible to decay because of its softer wood. Center rot eliminates the possibility of precisely dating the birth of this tree. So a careful study of the solid wood and the existing growth rings makes it possible to estimate the age of this tree at 2,100 years old, and it was born in 100 BCE. I'm just one of these people, I find trees fascinating. I love seeing the giant sequoias. I like seeing the redwoods, and these bristlecone pines are just fascinating to me. They're gnarly kind of looking trees, but really, really cool how long they can live. So that side looks like it's mostly dead, and then you've got this offshoot here that is still living. All right, so now we're going to continue on to this Glacier Trail. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to go all the way down. I've heard that this glacier is covered in rock, so there's not too much to see, but I think it would be a cool viewpoint, so we're going to go down a little bit further and check that out. Really cool scenery. Right, so we've gone up about a half a mile, which is what the park ranger recommended. So you can see some snow on the mountain there, really cool rocky views, and unlike some of the glaciers you might see in Glacier National Park or Alaska, things like that, this glacier is covered by rock, so it's not going to have that super impressive view. So we've got a really cool overlook of this area, and now we're going to turn back around and continue the rest of the Alpine Loop back to the summit trailhead, back to the car. It is just so rocky and rugged here, just beautiful scenery. And this is hard hiking, I'm not going to lie. The elevation change to get to the Bristlecone Loop and to get up towards the glacier is very difficult, especially with the thin air and especially when you've done some mileage to already get to this spot, but it is well worth it. Eventually pass another couple and another set of hikers, and they said that the parking lot had filled up by the time they got there a little before 7. So it sounds like we really made the right move getting up really early. Section, we are just backtracking back to the Alpine Lakes Loop. So I've showed you this section before. So I'm going to turn off the camera for a little bit, and then we get back to the new section of Alpine Loops because that's a circle, the section we haven't done before. I'm going to turn on the camera and show you some scenery from that. This is neat, just the little ecosystems of different plants and things that live here on these rocky areas. Okay, so now we're on the other portion of the Alpine Lakes Loop, and I'm having a much easier time hiking, a lot less huffing and puffing, because my husband has taken the backpack now. That was part of our deal. I'd wear it one way, he'd wear it the way back. In an environment like this, layers are your friend. I started off with the fleece, but then with a rain jacket, windbreaker over it, and I had my knit cap. And then as you get moving, day warms up a little bit. It's really nice to be able to just take off those layers and stash them in your bag and then keep going here. It's always better to have more layers than to come out and just be freezing your butt off. So an observation that I can make as a person who's visited a lot of national parks is because this park has low visitation, I believe it might be like 143,000 a year, which when you compare that to some of the numbers of Great Smoky Mountains or Yellowstone, this park just has a lot less traffic and it just feels pristine. Everything is just so quiet. Like I said, we've only run into like 3 people on the trail. It's just, you really feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no trash. Trails are beautifully maintained. This is that true, peaceful national park experience. And I love the other parks, don't get me wrong. They're all magical in their own way, even with the crowds. But this is just a different kind of experience, and I've just loved it here. So this tells a little bit about the Stella and Theresa lakes that we passed. So these lakes are tarn lakes, remnants of the last glacial period. They left depressions that are now occupied by the lake. So tarn lakes are scientific reservoirs of past environmental conditions, and they're fed by snowmelt and occasional summer rains. And there's no fish in these lakes because they're so shallow that they freeze solid each winter. And the lakes are surrounded by Engelmann spruce and limber pine trees, Clark's nutcrackers, and mountain chickadees nest nearby. So we've made it back to the parking lot. As you can see, it looks completely full. It filled up really fast, just like the ranger told us it would. So if you're a national park lover, if you are a hiker, you've got to consider Great Basin. Like I said, this isn't one of the parks that is most talked about, but it is pristine. It's quiet. It's beautiful here. Awesome hiking. The elevation can be a little bit of a challenge, but if I can do it, you can do it. So yeah, thanks for coming along with us today. Like I said, I just love this park. This has been a dream come true for me to visit Great Basin National Park. So thanks for coming along, guys. Have a great day.
In our next Great Basin video, we're going to show you a little bit of the Wheeler Peak Scenic Drive, and we're going to hike the Baker Creek Trail, so you don't want to miss that.